Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we're going to have a little bit of fun. As you might have seen on the channel, I've been really enjoying getting into the Elder Scrolls Call to Arms by Modiphius Games. It's been a really fantastic journey just learning and getting into the game. It's a really fun, enjoyable and intuitive sort of game system that has both a delve solo play or cooperative mode and a battle mode PvP mode. Both these versions of the game are really fun to play, and they use the same core system, which I think is the really unique thing about the game. And so, there's only a few factions currently released for the game. We obviously had Stormcloaks and Imperials and Adventurers released in the first pack, and then we've now got Dwemer and the Dark Brotherhood released in the second one, along with some cool cards for Drow as a playable faction as well in battle mode. I don't think there's enough content out there on battle mode. There seems to be plenty of people playing delve mode, but battle mode for me is a really interesting one. I really enjoy that sort of competitive aspect of a wargame, playing against an opponent. As much as I enjoy delve mode and all of that, battle mode is really where the game is for me. And for that to be successful, we need more factions. Now, we've definitely got 5, and games do work with 5. I look at things like Conquest: Last Argument of Kings by Parabellum. It's currently only got 5 games out in my local scene in Australia, and that's got tournaments happening with plenty of variety. Add in the fact that this is a game where you have upgrade cards and all that, I really don't think you need all that many factions to have a good competitive game, because you can sort of change up the list and play around with. Plus, the things like Stormcloaks and Imperials really do have quite a varied roster. Even the Dark Brotherhood as well, and Drow, and even the Dwemer, maybe not quite as much, but they've all got some really varied rosters. We can make a bunch of cool different sort of armies. Now, with that all said, I do think there's room for other armies to come into this, and this is what I'm really excited for. Now, I'm not going to talk about, I guess, the generic ones. You know, we've got Dark Brotherhood, so we can assume that things like the Companions, the Mages Guild, and the Thieves Guild are going to get their forces as soon as they're major sort of factions within the game. I want to look at maybe 5 other factions that I think could be really interesting things within the game, that we may get in the future, or that, if Modiphius, if you're listening, you should definitely go think about making, because I reckon there's some fantastic options. There's some really fantastic looking minis and some really interesting sort of playable armies in the game in the future. So with that said, this is going to be a list of 5 factions I'd like to see in the game. I'd love to hear your own list of 5 factions you'd like to see from Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms within the game. So let us know in the comments below what yours are, but here is my list. Number 1, the Forsworn. So I think this is one of, I guess, the main sort of adversary factions that's sort of outside that main starter group. The Forsworn for me are an amazing faction. They've got a really cool, unique look, these sort of tribal savages in Skyrim. They're mostly Nordic in, I guess, race, which is really cool. But the ones you see them are sort of, I guess, the true owners of the Reach, where you've had the Nords come in and make Markarth in the Dwemer city ruins and all that sort of stuff. I really would like to see Forsworn. I think you'd have some really interesting sort of models there. Things like the Briarheart, obviously, as a fantastic sort of leader piece for the army. You could also add in the Hagravens as well to this faction to really give them a sort of unique aesthetic, having a Hagraven or their Forsworn followers with like a Briarheart, Hagraven. And give you a couple of different hero builds in there, you know, to make a really interesting sort of warband for this army. Forsworn would be a really cool faction in that they have access to mages as well. So unlike some of the others, you could probably put magic in there a little bit more commonly, as they seem to have those extra couple of mages throughout the game in addition to anything else. So yeah, definitely for me, Forsworn are one of the first ones I'd love to see. Number 2, the Silver Hand. This one maybe is a little bit less known about, unless you're really into the companion sort of stuff. The Silver Hand are the direct opponents of the companions. They are werewolf hunters. This, for me, I mean, this would be a great release alongside companions. To have the companions as one half and then the Silver Hand hunting them on the other side would be really, really cool, I think. You've got a really unique aesthetic. You can do, you know, all your werewolf pelts and all that, and some fantastic rules for silver weapons. We've already seen some of the weapons in the initial card packs as well, which I think, well, maybe this is where that's sort of leading, potentially, maybe, and if not, definitely should be. But, you know, werewolf pelts on some heavy armor models would be amazing. It would look great, and give a really unique sort of army as like these werewolf hunters as a unit and an army in general. Number 3, the Vigilant Standard. So these are sort of your anti-vampire, anti-undead hunters across the realm. They're directly opposed to the vampires you get in the Dawn Guard DLC, as long with the Dawn Guard themselves. And well, you know, the Dawn Guard would be a really cool faction to add, as would the vampires from that. I think the Vigilant Standard could have a really unique sort of playstyle. You could definitely have this as a faction that sort of works like adventurers, how they can go into other factions, because, you know, a Vigilant Standard will generally work with just about anyone that's hunting the undead and sort of lend their services out. But I do think they have an interesting sort of play as potentially a whole faction within the game. If you're going to have this faction, you're going to have a lot of priests and a lot of wizards, I guess, in the game. This could be a really interesting sort of way to have a full sort of magic army, have spell swords, have crew wizards, battle mages, and all that sort of stuff, all under the one sort of grouping of I guess, a faction. This could really make them an interesting sort of unit to play with, I think, giving them this full magic force. Next up, the Blades. So obviously we've seen the Dragon start to come out for Modiphius games. It's awesome. But I really think, well, we've got dragons, so we need a dragon slayers within the game, so why not add the Blades as a full faction? You've got a couple of really cool leaders. You've obviously got Delphine, and I keep forgetting his name, the wizard sort of scholar that rocks around with you in Skyrim as well. You've got a couple of cool named characters there for your Blades. But definitely, even like some Blade variations of characters. I mean, could you imagine getting some resculpts with characters like Mjolnir, sort of how you can make people go into your Blades, maybe like Fendel as a Blade or something like that. Could make for a really interesting sort of faction, giving alternate models for some of these armies, and even like a Dragonborn Blade would be really cool as well. But I do think like this is just an interesting sort of faction. You've got the Akaviri Katanas, you've got a really unique sort of look, and the Blades are one of the most iconic things for Elder Scrolls, so why not make them a faction in the game? And number 5, the Falmer. This for me is going to be a really cool faction once we get it. You're going to have these weird sort of blind elves in there as well, so they're going to be great for adversaries for delve mode, but also as a full faction could be really interesting. We're going to have like chorus and all those sort of creatures as well that they breed and have out there as well would be a really interesting one, and some, you know, the armored Falmer will look really cool in their chorus chitin armor. This is definitely just a faction so having like creatures alongside beasts is a really cool idea. Not something that we have in a lot of the factions at the moment. So I really do think like the Falmer with their chorus allies would be a really fun sort of faction to have for the game. But they are my 5 picks for the game. Like I said, I'd love to hear everyone else's ideas on factions you'd like to see, factions you reckon we can see, and even just random adversaries and monsters you want to see models for in the game. Let us know in the comments below. And so that's the end of the video. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine little community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the video's description to our Discord server. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so by either Patreon or YouTube members, or going and purchasing some merch from Teespring, on which you'll find all the links for Patreon, YouTube members and Teespring in the description of the video as well. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to all our patrons and YouTube members who help support the channel. It's amazing what you do, and it really helps us get more and more stuff out for the channel. So thank you to our patrons: Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lowell, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Dynet226, Anton Nielsen, JJ Austrian, and Average Wargamer. And a special shout out to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Steve T, The Real Zeop, Chris Wallace, Turai12, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, and Revan R. Lastly, a special shout out first of all to Lady Witchfox Art for doing all the amazing artwork for the channel you can see here, and to Xmorphic as well for doing an amazing job doing all the background work on our Discord server. Thank you to everyone once again for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, comment below. Thank you all. Stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.